How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Flesh and Blood video here on Red Zone Rogue. Today, we have our very first Tales of Aria deck tech video, kicking it off with my favorite hero and my favorite class from the set. Not just from the set, but actually my favorite hero in the entire game. Well, one of my three favorite heroes in the entire game. My favorite class for sure. Anyway, we have Lexi Livewire. This is a classic constructed deck, and with Ranger being my absolute favorite class in the game, I could not wait to start brewing Lexi. I am so excited. This hero is a ton of fun to play. I've done a couple like preliminary games so far, and it's just an absolute blast. The deck plays so much better than you're used to if you're a Ranger player. And there's some really fun stuff you can do here. So Azalea fans, Ranger fans, there's some cool stuff to be had here. I'm still building Azalea for Classic Constructed, but I definitely wanted to start off with Lexi. I should also note that this deck is an aggro lightning style deck. I still want to build a more controlling ice deck as well, but the lightning aggro seemed like the easiest, and it was kind of like more my style anyway. I also want to mention, before I get started, everyone always asks about these hard cases. This is a Pro Mold magnetic case. That's what this is here. And before we get started, I do want to mention that I do have an affiliate link with Channel Fireball. So if you're out there looking to pick up any sealed products or singles, check out the new Channel Fireball marketplace. You might not know this, but there's a new marketplace there where not only Channel Fireball sells, but many other local game stores. They've basically opened up and used their presence to help support local game stores. And when you buy from there, you know, sometimes it'll buy from a local game store. It'll show you which one you buy from. So you can kind of think about it like a TCG player kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's really cool. And there's already some Tales of Aria boxes up there for like 120 bucks. Also a bunch of singles. So definitely check that out. And if you do, use my promo code ROGUE at checkout. But without further ado, let's get started talking about my Lexi Livewire Lightning Aggro Classic Constructed deck. I am so excited. I'm so excited. Let's do this. All right, let's start talking about Lexi Livewire and her role in this Classic Constructed deck. I think this deck, first of all, is both a lot of fun and pretty good. It's actually pretty powerful, especially for this kind of like my initial build. This is a build that I'm going to be refining over the next couple months as we approach Nationals. And honestly, if I compete in the event in any capacity, I'm going to be bringing some version of this deck, or maybe Viserai, but I'm a huge fan of Ranger, obviously, and I would love to bring Ranger to the calling and do well. So here we have Lexi Livewire, the Elemental Ranger hero. Basically, very standard stats, 4 hand size, 40 starting life total, essence of ice and lightning, and a once per turn action of turning a face down card in your arsenal face up. If it's a lightning card, your next attack this turn gains go again, and if it's a ice card, create a frostbite token under target hero's control. Honestly, we're not really going to focus too much on that frostbite because we are running a very lightning heavy Lexi deck. In fact, there's only a couple ice cards in the deck and the sideboard to begin with, so we're not really going to talk about that. Well, maybe talk about ice a little bit when we get there, but this is, for the most part, a very aggressive deck where we just want to shoot a lot of arrows, have our arrows blot out the sky. So yeah, that is our Lexi here. And then we have our equipment loadout. For my current build, I don't have any other options for the equipment. This is just what we run no matter what. If Wizard becomes a thing and we need more Arcane Barrier, then we can get more Arcane Barrier, but our Bullseye Bracers here do have that Arcane Barrier on them. First up is the Fiendel's Spring Tunic. This is a card that you're going to see a lot of Rangers run because it's just fantastic. Gives you resources over time. I kind of need to get myself an unlimited version of this so I don't have to play with my first edition cold foil. But just getting those resources over time is fantastic. And a lot of our deck is very lean, either costing 0 or 1. So keep that in mind as we proceed. We're also running the Bullseye Bracers over the Shot Charmers, and that's just because we can get more value out of the Bracers here. Just being able to put a card from our hand into our arsenal and give it +1 is really good on turns where we really want to go wide and we have a lot of options. And I think this deck can really get there with some really spicy stuff. It says, action, destroy the Bullseye Bracers. If you have no cards in your arsenal, you can put an arrow card from your hand face up into your arsenal, gains +1, and go again. Also has Arcane Barrier, like I said. So we do have some Arcane Barrier here against Rune Blade and the odd arcane damage here and there. For our leg equipment, we are running the perennial Snapdragon Scalers. This is a pretty common choice, and just a really good one. Just attack reaction, destroy the Scalers. Target attack action with cost 1 or less gains go again. Spoilers, that's every card in the deck. And now to the new stuff. We're gonna start off with New Horizon. First of all, I haven't taken the time yet to, you know, slab up my New Horizon, but it definitely will get one of these cases at some point. This card is amazing, and it really, really makes the deck pop off. It says, while you have a face-up card in your arsenal, you have an additional arsenal zone. So we have 2 arsenal zones, only if we have a face-up card. So there's a lot of turns where we play something face down, we arsenal something on the previous turn, we just turn it face up with Lexi for no value, just so we can have an extra arsenal zone. So I've done that more than a few times, so keep that in mind. It also says when New Horizon is destroyed, destroy all cards in your arsenal. It has Blade Break and blocks for 2. You really don't want to block with it until you really have to. And then we are running Voltaire, strike twice. So this is an Elemental Ranger bow, 2-handed, twice per turn instant, you know, it's striking twice. For a single resource, you may put an arrow card from your hand face up into an empty arsenal zone you control. If you do, choose one. It gains +1 until end of turn, or it gains go again. So this is just a really good way of loading up our arsenal, especially maybe possibly loading it up twice with New Horizon and just going to town, because we can just give all of our arrows go again. We have built-in go again. We also have, you know, the go again from Lexi, but we really don't need to use that. It's mostly coming from Voltaire, though we could possibly use it from Lexi. And so that's the equipment loadout. You can kind of get an idea what we're doing here. We want to load up our arsenal, basically have 6 card hands or more, and just fire off a ton of arrows. This is the main deck, the deck that I typically run. And then we also have some sideboard options that are technically part of the deck. By the way, I should have mentioned the entire deck list for this is in the description down below from FAB DB. So the first couple cards I want to show you and I want to talk about are very important and very spicy. Okay, so we have Blink. Blink is a 0-cost lightning instant for 3 blue pitch. It says gain 1 action point, and then you can only gain action points during your action phase. This card is integral to this deck, not just for going wide, but for the next card we want to talk about. So we're running 3 blinks. So just, you know, for 0 cost, gain an action point, right? Why would we want to do that? Well, so we can do more things. What more things would we like to do? Well, what about drawing some cards and then gaining an action point? So Toma Fiendo is a 1-cost, 2-pitch generic action, blocks for 2. It says draw 2 cards. If it's played from Arsenal, gain 1 life for each card in your hand. That's quite good. We're going to be loading up our Arsenal quite often. And what you can do with this normally is use something like the Mage Master Boots to gain the action point to play a card, you know, after you play the Toma Fiendel. But in Lexi, all you need is a blink. So you can play your Toma Fiendel, gain your life, and then afterwards play your blink at instant speed and gain that action point so you can pop off. It's really sweet. Blink and Toma Fiendel, I think, are a fantastic combo where you can have huge, huge turns. I'm only running 2 tomes in this deck because it's kind of not great if you don't have the blink. The blink is just fantastic by itself, but the tome is kind of not great if you don't have the blink. There's some other things you can do with it, but because you can activate Voltaire at instant speed, right? So you can still draw above your maximum hand size and use Voltaire, but you wouldn't be able to shoot the arrows off because you do not have an action point. So yeah, just running 2 of those. And then, oh, I'm so glad this card is finally gonna see some play, and I'm so stoked. This has been one of my favorite cards ever since I started playing Flesh and Blood. Well, a little bit after. I started with Welcome to Wraith, and Arcane Rising was the first set I really got into. 3 of a kind. So a 1-cost red pitch card, blocks for 2. It says, draw 3 cards. Until end of turn, you may only play cards from Arsenal. Go again. Well, we have 2 Arsenal slots. So drawing 3 cards and then just dumping a bunch of arrows into our arsenal using Voltaire and the resources we gain by drawing those cards just makes it so we can just pop off and have absurd turns. Actually absurd turns, because, you know, we can activate Voltaire twice. Voltaire is an instant ability, and so just playing the cards from Arsenal after you drop them in with Voltaire's instant ability is crazy. We are running a full set of the 3 of a kind. You can even you know, screenshot the 3 of a kind holding the three of a kinds. Yeah, awesome. It's so sweet. So I'm so glad. This package right here makes me so happy. You don't even know. Triple blink, triple 3 of a kind, and double Toma Fandel. You know, you could try to be greedy and run 2 Toma Fandels, but I mean 3 Toma Fandels, but I think 2 is a good option, at least to start. So, you know, going forward and refining the deck, we might, you know, cut it down to 1, which would make me very sad, or bring it up to 3, which would make me very happy. So that's kind of the spice here. Let's talk about just some arrows. Let's shoot some arrows. So first up, we have Light It Up. This is the Lexi Specialization, fantastic card. It's a yellow pitch card, 1 resource, 4 attack, 3 defense. Has Lightning Fusion, and even if you don't Lightning Fuse it, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. It says, if Light It Up was fused, it gains, if this hits a hero, deal 1 damage to them for each equipment they control. To note, weapons are not equipment, right? Literally has to say the word equipment on the card. But it also says, if Light It Up deals damage to a hero equal to or greater than the number of equipment they control lose and can't gain activated abilities until the end of their next turn. That's sweet. This is really sweet. This card is awesome. Deals a ton of damage and kind of does like a hosing hate bear type of effect. Really, really good. I mean, it's a 4 attack card, right? So you have a pretty good break point. So pumping it up for 1 with the Voltaire is good, but you know, you could just give it go again as part of a long chain of attacks. I would probably try to save this for the end, just so you can maximize on that hit effect, but still quite good. The fact that it pitches for 2 is also quite good. We want to have a decent number of yellow and blues in this deck because we want to activate our Voltaire twice, and that's a pretty resource intensive card because, you know, it's going to take up 2 resources. We have Dazzling Crescendo, beautiful card with beautiful art by Sam Yang. This is a 0 cost, 4 attack arrow, 3 defense, Lightning Fusion. If you fuse it, it gains go again. So this is a card that you can just, if you confuse it, just do that +1 on your Voltaire and have a 0 cost, 5 attack arrow coming in with go again, which is pretty good, So this is just a great card for those really, you know, go wide turns where you're popping off with your 3 of a kinds. Any of our 0 cost cards are going to be so good with the 3 of a kinds. So really good. Running a full set of the reds on that one. Also running a full set of the reds, we have Frazzle. So Frazzle is a 1 cost, 5 attack, and that's kind of the break point you want to see here. Either 0 for 4 or 1 for 5. And 1 for 5 is pretty good. It says Lightning Fusion. If Frazzle was fused, whenever an attack would deal damage this turn, it instead deals that much +1. So just, you know, once again, really good for those go wide turns, pumping up the damage of all your attacks that actually deal damage. And all of these arrows are going to block for 3. So I'm not going to mention that every single time, but they all block for 3. So this is a 1 cost 5, blocks for 3, running 3 of them. Next up, we have a card that's very similar, but also a little different. This one is Buzzbolt. So once again, 1 cost, 5. This is the red pitch version. Lightning Fusion. If it was fused, whenever an attack hits a hero this turn, it deals 1 damage to them. So the big difference here, right, is this: whenever an attack would deal damage, it instead deals that much +1. And this one says, whenever an attack hits a hero, it deals 1 damage to them. That's not the same. Functionally, if you're just attacking with no other bonuses or anything, they're kind of the same, dealing that 1 extra. But if you Frazzle and hit them, and then Buzzbolt and hit them, when it deals that 1 extra damage, it'll actually deal 2 damage because the Frazzle says whenever it deals damage, it deals that much +1. So yeah, that's the big key difference here, right? So Frazzle can pump up your extra like little ping damage. We're not doing a lot of extra little ping damage in this build, but keep that in mind for decks that you want to do that kind of stuff for. So we do have 3 of the red Buzzbolts and 3 of the yellow Buzzbolts. Same thing, just attacks for 4. Honestly, the difference between like Frazzle and Buzzbolt are like up in the air. It might be better to run the yellow Frazzles over the yellow Buzzbolts, but I think this is where I want to start. I'd actually rather have the extra little ping as opposed to this for now, just because of the way they interact. I'd rather have Frazzle and then Buzzbolt to deal the 2. So that's what we're doing with the Buzzbolts. Also, we have some snapshots with beautiful artwork by Federico Musetti. This is a 0-cost card, 4 attack. So once again, 0 for 4. This one also has lightning fusion. If the snapshot was fused, you may activate abilities of bows you control an additional time as though it were an instant. This card is amazing for those huge turns with 3 of a kind, where you're just popping off and you're just loading your bow over and over again. So that's what snapshot is for, right? Not for your average turn. It's for those really big, explosive 3 of a kind and Toma Fiendel turns. So you want to, basically when you want to shoot your bow 3 times or more. So other than that, it's just a 0-cost 4, which is, like I said, pretty good. I'm also running the blue expressly for that ability and pitch. So, this is a pretty good card to have for value, for resource value, because it pitches for blue. And also, you still get this effect if it's fused. It doesn't have to hit. So, this is just a great card to have all around, and it blocks for 3 as well. So I really like the blue snapshots in the deck here. Next up, let's have some discussions about some non-elemental, non-lightning cards. This is Endless Arrow. This is a 0-cost, 4-attack arrow, once again, 0 for 4. If it hits, put it in your hand. This is sweet. This is really, really sweet when you can activate your bow multiple times and give your arrows go again. If your opponent's got nothing going on, oh, you can, bam, hit ya. Comes back to my hand. Oh, look, I can activate my Voltaire again. I'll put it in here, has go again, bam, hit ya. Like, there's some really, really sweet stuff you can do with Endless Arrow. I think it's absolutely fantastic in this deck. Better than it's ever been. Really good, really good. Next up, we have another new card with Bolton Shot. This card is amazing. So it's a 0-cost card, 4 attack, once again, 0 cost for 4. It says, while Bolton Shot's attack is greater than its base attack, it has go again, and if it hits, reload. So we will literally always choose +1 from Voltaire with Bolton Shot, because it'll always have built-in go again. So this is actually a 0-cost 5 attack, which is nuts. And if it hits, reload, which is not too bad. Sometimes we don't actually want to reload, because when you reload, it puts it into the arsenal face down, which isn't bad in and of itself. It's just, we mostly want to use our Voltaire for its effect, right? Either the +1 or the go again. And if we're putting our arrows face down into the arsenal, well, then we can't get that effect. It should be noted, when you reload, it doesn't have to be an arrow, so you can put anything face down. So if you wanted to put something else face down so you can, use Lexi's ability, for example, you can do that. But yeah, we're running 3 red Bolton Shots, once again, 0 for 5 with go again, really good. And then the yellow Bolton Shots, because it's still a 0 for 4, because we're just always going to be using the +1 there. Really, really good. Next up, we have one of my favorite Ranger cards in the entire game, Remorseless. 1-cost 5-attack arrow. If it's put into your arsenal face up until end of turn, it gains defense reactions can't be played from arsenal to Remorseless's chain link. So this is a card you want to play at the start of a really long chain, where you activate your Voltaire, give this go again, drop it into your arsenal, and you're like, hey, now you can't play any defense reactions from the arsenal, which is so good. It's so good. It also says if it hits a hero until the end of their next turn, whenever they play an action card, they lose 1 life. Obviously, running a full set of the Remorselesses is just so powerful. Does a lot of damage, really hard to block against, and it's just one of the cards you really want to see on those really big 3-of-a-kind turns. Next up, we have an innocuous card. This is a card that I actually used in several of my other Ranger decks before, because I really like it as a resource card. Headshot. So it's a 1-cost, 2-attack card, 3 defense. But it says if Headshot's put in your arsenal face up, which it will almost always be put into face up, because that's what we're doing with Voltaire, it gains +2. So with Voltaire, if we do the +1, this is actually a 1-cost +5 that pitches for 3, which is really good. Or a 1-cost +4 with go again. Either way you look at it, it's fantastic. So really, really good resource card, and still can come in for 5 when you need to. So really like the Headshots here. I think it's kind of I think Headshots are almost a must, like blue Headshots are almost a must in any kind of deck like this. Now let's talk about some of our lightning cards. We have a decent suite of lightning attack actions. These are almost exclusively, and I mean exclusively, for resource and lightning, because we need them to fuse all of our other stuff. So Heaven's Claws is a 1-cost 3-attack lightning card. That's it. Has pitches for 3, blocks for 3. That 3 pitch lightning, and block for 3. That's what I really want to look for when I'm looking for these cards, these slots in the deck, right? I need lightning cards that have good pitch and block well, which is why I'm not running any ball lightnings, because ball lightnings do not block at all. And I really want cards that block, because we have so many cards in the deck that don't block. So I think Heaven's Call is fantastic. So I'm running a full set of these. Similarly, Lightning Surge. First of all, look at this art. So good. By Fu Thiu. This is a 0 cost, 2 defense, 2 attack. If it's played from Arsenal, it gains Go again. But this is the blue pitch version. So this is a card that you can kind of play this and have a go wide turn, right? You can kind of set it up, put in your arsenal end of turn, or maybe even put it into your arsenal from the reload from something like Bolton Shot. Remember, it's not an arrow, so you cannot put in your arsenal with Voltaire. But still decent, right? It's not completely useless, but we really want it for the resources, it being a lightning card, and it still blocks. This is the card that I think some people would swap out for Ball Lightning, but I think Ball Lightning is actually pretty risky. I'm running 2 of the Lightning Surge, and that's just because Ball Lightning doesn't block at all. And you'll see we have a ton of cards that don't block at all, like the Blinks. I think are running 9 incidents, so that's a lot of cards that don't block. Next up, we have more lightning cards. This one is Electrify. This card's fantastic. So there's a 1 cost lightning action, blocks for 2. This is a red pitch version. We're also running the blue. It says the next time an attack action card hits a hero this turn, it deals 3 damage to them. If Electrify is played from Arsenal, draw a card. We really want to play it from Arsenal so we can get that card draw ability. This is kind of like a little bit like a Plunder Run. That's a lightning card. That's kind of what it's going to be functioning like. It does cost 1 to play. Also like Plunder Run, it says the next time an attack hits. So it doesn't mean the next attack. So you can play Electrify and then play Lightning Surge. And if they block out Lightning Surge, well, you can play another Lightning Surge. And if this one hits, it'll do the extra damage. So it just kind of sticks around for the turn, that effect. So pretty good, pretty good. We're running the reds, and I'm also running the blues. Blues are great because they still draw you that card. They only deal that 1 extra little damage to you, but it's still pretty good. This is another card, by the way. It says the next time an attack action card hits a hero, it deals 1 damage to them. So this is the kind of card that would be pumped up, by the way, with a card like Frazzle. So Frazzle pumps up the damage that the attack would deal, and this makes the attack deal 1 extra damage. So that could be a case of running, the yellow Frazzles over the yellow Buzzbolts, possibly. That's something I'm considering. I'm not sure yet. That's one of the tweaks that I really want to look at going forward. Next up, we have one of my favorite cards, Pulse of Volthaven. It's very simple. 0 cost, legendary, which means you can only have 1 of them in your deck. It's a ice and lightning instant, or lightning and ice instant if I read it properly. Your next lightning, ice, or elemental attack gains +4. So this does not work on any of our generic ranger cards, but still, 0 cost +4. You should also note, even though it's an instant, it says your next attack. So you can't use this during the reaction phase to pump up the card you're attacking with, because it's already attacking. So you got to keep that in mind. But this is just being ice and lightning is fantastic, and 0 for +4 is also fantastic. The legendary, like I said, means you can only have 1 in your deck. One of the reasons I love this card so much in this deck is because I include a cheeky one of Ice Storm. Okay, so let me talk about Ice Storm. Talk about Ice Storm and Volthaven. This is my high roll. This is my high roll part of the deck, and I actually love this kind of stuff. This is like some of my favorite stuff in card games. Okay, so it's a 0 cost card, elemental ranger action, blocks for 2. It has ice and lightning fusion. You have to do both. It says your next arrow attack this turn gains +3, no matter what. So even if you don't fuse it at all, you still get a +3. So 0 +3 is still really good. It says if Ice Storm was fused, your next arrow attack this turn gains, if this hits a hero, deal 1 damage to them, and whenever this attack deals damage to a hero, create that many Frostbite tokens under their control, go again. So this is, by the way, why you would want to deal the little extra ping damage, because it says whenever this attack deals damage to a hero, create that many Frostbite tokens. So you want to stack up instances of little ping damage so you can create a bunch of little tokens for them. So that's really sweet. Why is there only 1 of this in the deck? Well, because we only have 1 ice card main board. However, all we need is the Pulse of Volthaven. And even if we don't have it, it's still a card that pumps for 3. So that's why I'm running it. Some turns you'll just get both of these. You'll just get Pulse of Volthaven and Ice Storm, and you can go to town. You can go to town, and it's awesome because you can play your Ice Storm for 0, right? Play your Ice Storm for 0, and then fuse it, revealing your Pulse of Volthaven, so it has the fuse, and then play your Pulse of Volthaven for 0, and then play whatever arrow, getting it a +7 and that on-hit effect. So this is my high roll combo for the deck. I think it's cheeky, and I like it. I like it a lot. Next up, and finally, we have Lightning Press. This is a 0-cost instant. Once again, we have a lot of instants in this deck. I think we actually have 10. I forgot about Pulse of Volthaven being an instant. This is the red pitch version. Target attack action card with cost 1 or less gains +3. That's all of them. All of them cost 1 or less. That's it. So we're running the reds, and we are running the yellows. What's really cool about the yellows, by the way, is pumping up 5 attack cards. Because when you pump up a 5 attack card with this, it makes it into 7. And a lot of decks will be running 3 block cards. So that forces them to block with 3 cards in their hand, because 2 cards will be blocking for 6. So attacking for 7 is a really, really good break point, which is why I like the +2s in this deck quite a bit. So yeah, I really like the lightning presses. Also the lightning cards. You know, we need a good critical mass of lightning cards in the deck so we can get all the fusion. That's one of the key things about running any of the new heroes, is you need a good mass of lightning cards, right? And I believe this deck we're running around 20 something. I would also highly recommend not cutting any of the lightning cards, maybe even adding some lightning cards. It might be a little too little right now. So that's something I'm very conscious about going into this testing season. Do I have enough lightning cards in the deck to fuse? So far, yeah, it's pretty good, especially with all of the card draw and all the craziness that we have. So keep that in mind. And also keep in mind that there's a lot of cards that don't block, right? We have the 6 lightning presses, Pulse of Volthaven for 7, and then the 3 blinks. So keep that in mind as well. Doesn't block well. It's kind of an all aggro deck, which is why getting block on some of these cards and not running the ball lightnings is very important in my opinion. Okay, so that's the main deck, right? That's kind of like our main strategy, just going to town, especially with the 3 of a kinds. I love it. So what about the sideboard? So our sideboard options are as thus. Basically some go-tall options with Seek and Destroy. So it's a 0-cost +3 for an arrow. If it hits at the beginning of their next end phase, they discard all cards from their hand and destroy all cards from the arsenal. You would side this in against decks where you think they're not gonna block big, like that are not running a lot of defense reactions. So you can just push through their initial blocks. And if they're not running any high, block defense reactions, you can just absolutely crush them. So that's what I would put these in for. Flash Freeze is interesting. I think this could be a decent substitute for Electrify, but it's a very tricky substitute because Electrify has the bonus of being a lightning card, whereas Flash Freeze does not. I think Flash Freeze has bigger potential, but it's tricky. So Flash Freeze is a 1-cost elemental action, blocks for 2. It says ice and or lightning, so we will probably not be doing the ice, but the ice one, when you attack, if you fuse with ice, whenever you attack this turn, it gains dominate unless the defending hero pays 2. Yeah, like I said, we're not really going to be doing that all that much. What I really like about this is the second part. If Flash Freeze was fused with a lightning card, attacks you control this turn gain. If it hits a hero, it deals 3 damage to them, like an extra 3 damage to them. So what I like about that is it kind of applies that Electrify effect to all of your attacks. So this is a card that you could get and have an absurd turn on where you are going to town with your 3 of a kinds, drawing a bunch of cards, firing them all off, doing a whole bunch of attacks, and every single time one of them hits, Flash Freeze pops and deals an extra 3 damage to them. So that's kind of why I have it in here. I'm not sure how good it is, but I really think the potential's there. So I think it could be there for if you really, really want to go as aggro as possible. On the flip side, we have Feign Death, which is a really, really good defensive card, especially against certain decks. Any deck that goes really wide, or like an OTK style Viserai deck, I think Feign Death is pretty good. Not only does it pitch for 2, but it says, play Feign Death only if you've been dealt damage this turn. The next time you'd be dealt damage this turn, prevent it. So what you do is on like an OTK Viserai deck, they're popping off, you take a little bit of arcane damage, and then they come in with a 9 attack, like 9th Blade of the Blood Oath. You can Feign Death the 9th Blade of the Blood Oath and prevent 9 damage. And if they're pumping that up with like a Slogism or something, you know, it's coming in for 15, Feign Death. It's soul crushing. It's absolutely soul crushing. So I really like Feign Death kind of in the sideboard here. I think it'll be important going forward, not just against Viserai, but maybe against like aggro Katsu. You know, they're popping off, coming in with like a 6 attack ninja kick. You can Feign Death it. 1 card, blocking 6. Pretty good. Next up, this one I'm not sure about, but you would kind of put it in against the same kind of decks, is Blizzard. So Blizzard is a 0 cost blue pitch card. It's an ice instant. It says target attack loses and can't gain go again until the attacking hero, or unless the attacking hero pays 2. So this is really good against kind of like, you know, ninjas, any other go wide decks where their resources are very, very hampered. Even kind of against this deck, honestly, where your resources are very, very hampered. You can't really afford to pay that 2, and it just kind of shuts down their turn. So I'm running 3 of these. Once again, not sure how good they are, but I think they're worth testing. And then that's it for the deck. I do have 2 more Ice Storms, just in case. I just really want to make the Ice Storm work. It's probably better for a different deck, but that 0 cost +3, maybe. It's not actually in the deck list. And then here are my, you know, my non-cold foil versions of these. Honestly, just, you know, a little aside, I want to eventually get the cheaper versions of all of these, because there's no way in hell I'm bringing my cold foil tunic to the Calling. So definitely want to get the lower rare versions of these, so I don't have to lug around really expensive stuff. And that's it for my first take on Lexi, Livewire, and Classic Constructed. This deck is awesome. It's so much fun to play. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of it. I'm definitely going to be playing this deck on the channel soon. I'm not sure what my opponents are going to be bringing to the table, but I'm really excited to get a lot of games in with Lexi here, to get better with it. I'm highly considering competing in some of the later Calling events this year. I will be doing event coverage at Dallas Fort Worth, but later this year, who knows, you might see me on the end of the table jamming some Lexi Livewire. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell. This is me ringing the bell. Ring the bell or whatever. And you know, I'll see you next time for some more Flesh and Blood content. Have a good one all. We'll see you later.